NET Black Journal number 9, 1 hour, 2:24:69, take 1.
The following program is from NET, the Public Television Network.
Tonight on Black Journal, we'll be making the scene at Harlem's Apollo Theater, where so many of our black stars launched their careers on amateur night. We'll examine the life and legacy of Malcolm X, and we'll meet his widow, Sister Betty Shabazz. We'll be taking an in-depth view of the crisis in medicine, especially as it pertains to the shortage of black professionals and paraprofessionals that face our black communities across the country. The Afro Look, its roots in our ancient African cultures.
And an exclusive interview with Judge William Booth.
That handkerchief did an Egyptian to my mother give. She was a charmer and could almost read the thoughts of people. She told her while she kept it, 'twould make her amiable and subdue my father entirely to her love. But if she lost it, or made a gift of it, my father's eye should hold her loathed, and his spirit should hunt after new fancies.
And here in Harlem, in the world-renowned Schoenberg collection, we're standing beside the bust of Ira Aldridge, one of the 19th century's leading Shakespearean actors. His brilliant portrayal of Othello brought him resounding acclaim and a highly successful career in the European theater. Aldridge moved to the continent after the racist American theatrical establishment refused to acknowledge his great talents and his artistry. Ira Aldridge is one of many black Americans who made many contributions to history and whose lives and contributions can be studied here at the Schoenberg collection. Later, we'll be talking with Mrs. Jean Hudson, who is the curator of the library. But first, let's look at another place in Harlem where black talent for years has struggled to gain attention. And I'm talking, brothers and sisters, about that place called the Apollo Theater at 125th Street. And for that story, here's William Greaves.
One of the few places in the country where young black talent can walk in off the street and get a chance to perform is the Apollo Theater on amateur night. Over the years, many famous black singers got their break here by winning the amateur contest. Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Billy Eckstine, and more recently, Gloria Lynn.
Louise, Dorothy Jones. Lee Redding. Right here, huh? Deborah Hayes.
The race began right here in this dingy little room. It's from here that they reached stardom. Perhaps these auditions might mean the same for one of these 30 contenders.
Worth living, but only worth living 'cause you are born free, born free. You know that I'm born free, Hallelujah. Baby, I gotta stay free. Oh, yeah. You know that I gotta live free. Oh, I'm gonna do the thing that I want. Baby, I'm gonna live your life for today.
These are the Davenports, four spirited young men from New York who have worked hard to prepare for this contest.
Reach for the sky, touch a star, and you'll find your dream.
Don't change, change. I'm in love, and if it's all the same, don't change. Baby, don't change. Come on now, I love you. Dun, 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 dun. You know it's true. Dun, 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 dun. Don't change your way. Dun, 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 dun. Broken in two. If I'm losing you. So don't change your love. Don't change.
Well, to bring to you the Billy Goat Blues that I made myself. I've got the... excuse me. I've got a Billy Goat who lives way up on the hill. Said, I want you to come up here and live with me. Come on in, and sit down.
Hold on a minute, wait. The piano player's here now. Maybe you can get together with him. Come here,
I said a million times or more. He said the man told women never, never, never part. Oh, but lately I find that you're a stranger. That you're mine in my every little heart, and you never, oh, never let me go. No, no.
It may be highly impossible to get all of you on tonight. If there's anyone here that feels that he or she won't get on tonight, you have the privilege of returning on next Wednesday night without an invitation. But we would like you to stick around and take your chances if you wish to. Now, if there's anybody that wishes to leave, you may do so now and return on next Wednesday night. Everybody's going to stick around? Okay. Wish you a lot of luck.
We asked Sarah Vaughan about her start at the Apollo.
Well, I started at the Apollo Theater. What's so funny about that, I went over to really get the first prize, which at that time was $10, plus a week at the theater. I wasn't really interested in the theater. I just wanted to get the $10. And luckily I won, and I'm not going to tell you what year it was. Well, I will. It was 1942. There was a guy called Puerto Rico. And if you weren't good, he would come out and shoot you, and then shoot you off stage. I was scared of the audience in Puerto Rico. That's who I was mostly frightened of. But I got past both of them.
Last-minute tune-up now. The contest is about to begin. For the Davenports, this will be their first chance to perform before a large audience. And if you've gotten past an Apollo audience, you've got it made.
You find your dream. For dreaming alone is a shame indeed. But if you got love, that's all you need. So be young, be foolish, and be happy.
All right, well, that's groovy. Oh, another thing, don't forget, smile.
Curly white.
Right, smile.
You know, yesterday I was more tense, man. You know, I was tense. And last night I went to rehearsal. You know, when I came to rehearsal last night, and we worked out, you know, you cats worked out this stuff. And I said, now everybody know what they're doing.
Your name, sweetheart?
Mary McNeil.
No, you need to getting closer to me. It ain't that cold yet, you know. Mary McNeil, where you from, Miss McNeil?
From Manhattan.
Manhattan. Uptown USA, Soulsville. Listen, Uptown USA, Soulsville, the mayor thought it was so important he gave it another name, Fun City. You know why? They just discovered Harlem. That's why they call it Fun City. Where you from, though? Where you from? You're from, wait a minute. What you gonna do, sweetheart?
Besame mucho sing.
Besame mucho?
Yes.
Be on, be foolish, but be happy. Don't let love slip away. Live your life for today.
Pleasing the audience is crucial. Their response will tell the performers if they have a chance.
Be on, be foolish, girls, stay happy. Be on, be foolish, oh, stay happy.
All right. Come on, let me hear it. The Davenports. Yeah, the Davenports.
The audience response was disappointing, but the Davenports remained optimistic.
Oh, and tell me the news. Tell me the news. Tell me what you did last night.
Yeah, we gonna make it. Why are we gonna make it? Because my grandmama told me we gonna make it. That's what I was saying. My grandmama always taught me that I should make it.
She don't tell no lie.
She don't tell no lie. The competition that we've seen, we think we got the show, you know. I haven't seen any competition that's any greater, I don't think.
Never let me go.
The Davenports showed promise, but every once in a while, a great talent emerges, and the audience knows it. Victory by acclamation for Linda Jones. But can she become another Sarah Vaughan? She has the talent, but there are still many obstacles ahead for a young black performer.
With all your might, and never let me go.
It's my pleasure to be in the Schomburg collection in the library here in New York City with the curator. Her name is Mrs. Jean Hudson. And Mrs. Hudson, I'd just like to get into something real fast. Now, how long has the library been here, the Schomburg collection?
Since 1925.
And how long have you been here?
Oh, I hate to admit it, but it's a generation. 20 years, except for 1 year in West Africa.
And this whole collection, where does it come from? Is it something somebody gave to the public library system, or is it a...
The Carnegie Corporation brought Mr. Schomburg's private library and gave it to the New York Public Library as a nucleus for a Negro African collection.
So the library's main purpose then is to collect black literature, essays, histories, etc.
Yes, we try to follow Mr. Schomburg's original policy, which was to try to collect all books by peoples of African descent, whether they're in Africa or over here in the U.S. or South America, wherever.
How about this library itself? I imagine, I look around and I see all these wonderful books and things. I just want to get in here myself. I imagine a lot of famous people have gone through here, like Langston Hughes and many others.
Yes, well, James Weldon Johnson was involved in the original organization of the institution. Also, W.E.B. Du Bois came in the early days before Langston was drawn to. He said the Schomburg collection helped draw him to New York City.
Was that right? You know, I noticed out in your bulletin
Conte
book.
Cullen used to come in
That's
every
right.
day with his poetry youngsters.
And I imagine a lot of other folks, too.
Yeah.
How about just the general public? They come in here. Is this the only library like this in the country or the world?
Well, this one is
That's
unique
public?
in that it's in a public library. The others are connected with universities.
And how about yourself now? What do you foresee in the future as far as the library is concerned? Will it be something that will grow? Do you need more space, more money?
We definitely need space. Things like our art objects, for example, need to be spread out so that they can really do their own thing, as we say now. They're so jammed together now that you cannot realize the beauty of them.
Well, you know, I have to leave you now, and I hate to, but on my next trip back, I think everybody, Harlemites and all, should be here, especially the young people. On February 21st, 1965, Brother Malcolm X was struck down by assassins' bullets. And since that fateful day, schools and organizations in black communities across the country have been renamed in his honor. And tonight on Black Journal, we examine the life and legacy of this great leader, Malcolm X, who's changed a lot of lives, including yours truly.
On February 21st, 1965, Malcolm X was assassinated. In his eulogy to Malcolm X, Ozzie Davis said, "Many will ask what Harlem finds to honor in this bold young captain, and we will smile. Malcolm was our manhood, our living black manhood. This was his meaning to his people, and in honoring him, we honor the best in ourselves." His widow, Mrs. Betty Shabazz, tells of his childhood.
Well, his early life, his family was disrupted. His father was killed when he was 6, and his mother later went to a mental institution. So from the time he was about 6 years old on, he reared himself. He was in foster homes and boys' homes until he was about 15. And then he went for a year and a half and lived with a half-sister in Boston. And he was in prison, and it was kind of rugged, really.
After his release from prison, Malcolm X became a minister for the Nation of Islam. In his autobiography, Malcolm X said, "No sane black man really wants integration. No sane white man really wants integration. The only solution is complete separation from the white man."
And one of the facts in your estimation is that Negro and white can never live together in America, can never
coexist. Well, evidently, the white man feels that the Negro can never live with him because it's the white man who is stopping integration. I'm not the one who is stopping Negroes from integrating with whites. I'm not the one who keeps Negroes from integrating white schools. And so don't put the burden of proof on me. It is the white man himself who is guilty and whose guilt proves that the Negro and the white man can't live side by side. Now, if I'm wrong in saying they can't, just prove that I'm wrong by doing it, or just show me one place where it's done. If it can't be done in New York City, it won't be done anywhere in this country.
Malcolm X became one of the best-known ministers in the Nation of Islam, but he was silenced for 90 days after the assassination of President Kennedy.
Malcolm, would I be correct in saying you're going to initiate a new movement in this country?
No, I don't think I'm equipped to initiate a new movement. But it's my intention to take the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and make them work on a broader level.
How long has this been building up, this decision to make the change?
Well, I have been able to see for some time that it's that I do run into obstacles in trying to help him within the movement. So I want to help him just that bad, just that much. So it's my intention to try and do it now in the only way that I know how. And I think I can do it better without the restrictions that I would run into by being a part of the Muslim movement in this country. That is, the Muslim movement as it now exists.
How severe were the restrictions these past 90 days?
Oh, during the past 90 days, they were most severe. I've been completely silent.
Not able to talk is a real affliction for you, is that right?
Not only have I not been able to speak as a Muslim, I haven't even been able to speak as a man.
Actually, going back to that incident, you have told me on other occasions that you didn't actually say you were glad the president was dead. What did you say, Malcolm?
No, my subject that day was God's judgment of white America. And I showed the different incidents that had been building up, step by step, the fulfillment of prophecy, and that all of these things that were taking place were the result of some seeds that were badly sown, or some bad seeds that were sown. And the death of the president I referred to as the result of other things, a combination of things. And surprisingly, this is what the whole country was saying, that it was a climate of hate. So chickens coming home to roost means the same thing.
And this is what you said, chickens were coming home to roost.
Yes.
But in no time did you say you were glad the president...
No, I did say this, that it pleases me to see that the wisdom of the prophets, these ancient prophets, was so vast that they could foresee these things exactly as they were to come to pass thousands of years ago. This was part of my lecture that day, and they twisted it.
In April 1964, Malcolm made his first pilgrimage to Mecca.
Malcolm, on your trip abroad, you said you sensed a feeling of great brotherhood, and that conceivably you would be working toward integration in this country now. At least this is what you're reported to have said. Have you any comment on it?
I don't think that I ever mentioned anything about working toward integration. If I recall, I pointed out that while I was at Mecca making the pilgrimage, I spoke about the brotherhood that existed at all levels and among all people who were there on that Hajj, who had accepted the religion of Islam. I mean, perhaps it could drive some of the racism from this society as it has driven racism from the Muslim society.
You accept integration as a possible solution to the racial problem in this country?
No, people cloud the issue when they bring in the word integration. Integration can't even be defined. This is one of the reasons why it hasn't been realized.
When a letter was written back and it was published in the New York Times, I think Mr. Handler published it, a lot of people felt that he was becoming an integrationist, which was not true. He had gone to Mecca and he had merely written about what he saw, and people reported it as if, you know, he had gone there and planted these people there. So this was an observation on his part, and he was not in the least becoming an integrationist. His role was forever the fight for black freedom. He wanted to raise the level of the struggle from one of civil rights to one of human rights, and he felt that civil rights confined our struggle or our fight for freedom to the borders of the United States. And if we internationalized our struggle, if we got allies, and everyone realized the importance of getting allies, even this country in the Revolutionary War, they sent people all over forming correspondence committee to explain their plight to the world and trying to get allies. And I think the French and the British and Spain joined this country in helping her win her independence. And just like they needed allies, you know, the black people needed allies, and I think
Through continuous struggle, Malcolm X attempted to unify the civil rights movement with black nationalism. He speaks to students in Selma, Alabama, a few weeks before his death.
And now, if the federal government does not find it within its power and ability to investigate a criminal organization such as the Klan, then you and I are within our rights to wire Secretary General Uthon of the United Nations and charge the federal government in this country behind Lyndon B. Johnson with being derelict in its duty to protect the human rights of 22 million black people in this country. And in their failure to protect our human rights, they are violating the United Nations Charter, and they are not qualified to continue to sit in that international body and talk about what human rights should be done in other countries on this earth. I have to say this, and I'll sit down. Back during slavery, when black people like me talked to the slaves, they didn't kill him. They'd send some old house Negro along behind him to undo what he said. You have to read the history of slavery to understand this. There were two kinds of Negroes. There was that old house Negro and the field Negro. And the house Negro always looked out for his master. When the field Negroes got too much out of line, he held them back in check. He put them back on the plantation. The house Negro could afford to do that because he lived better than the field Negro. He ate better, he dressed better, and he lived in a better house. He lived right up next to his master in the attic or the basement. He ate the same food his master ate and wore his same clothes. And he could talk just like his master. Good diction.
And he loved his master more than his master loved himself. That's why he didn't want his master hurt. If the master got sick, he'd say, "What's the matter, boss? We sick?" He was as sick as the master. When the master's house caught a fire, he'd try and put the fire out. He didn't want his master's house burned. He never wanted his master's property threatened. And he was more defensive of it than the master was. That was the house Negro. But then you had some field Negroes who lived in huts, had nothing to lose. They wore the worst kind of clothes. They ate the worst food. And they caught hell. They felt the sting of the lash. They hated their master. Oh, yes, they did. If the master got sick, they prayed that the master died. If the master's house caught a fire, they prayed for a strong wind to come along. This was the difference between the two. And today you still have house Negroes and field Negroes. I'm a field Negro. If I can't live in the house as a human being, I'm praying for a wind to come along. If the master won't treat me right and he's sick, I'll tell the doctor to go in the other direction. But if all of us are going to live as human beings, as brothers, then I'm for a society of human beings that can practice brotherhood. So before I sit down, I want to thank you for listening to me. I hope I haven't put anybody on the spot. I'm not intending to try and stir you up and make you do something that you wouldn't have done anyway. I pray that God will bless you in everything that you do. I pray that you will grow intellectually so that you can understand the problems of the world and where you fit into in that world picture. And I pray that all the fear that has ever been in your heart will be taken out. And when you look at that man, if you know he's nothing but a coward, you won't fear him. If he wasn't a coward, he wouldn't gang up on you. He wouldn't need to sneak around here. This is how they function. They function in mobs. That's a coward. They put on a sheet so you won't know who they are. That's a coward. No. The time will come when that sheet will be ripped off. If the federal government doesn't take it off, we'll take it off.
Although some of us may have disagreed with Malcolm X, or we disagree with each other about him, let us going from us serve to bring us together.
A brilliant journalistic career terminated with the recent death of Charles P. Howard at the age of 74, following a long illness. A former lawyer and political activist, Mr. Howard exposed injustices and bigotry heaped upon black people around the world. His syndicated column, the United Nations Report, appeared in numerous papers throughout the country and abroad, including such papers as the Philadelphia Tribune, Muhammad Speaks, and the Afro-American Chain. Reverend Uriah Simango has been chosen to succeed assassinated Dr. Eduardo Shivambo Mondlane as the leader of Frelimo, the revolutionary guerrilla movement in the colony of Mozambique. Dr. Mondlane was killed by a time bomb explosion in Tanzania. His killers have not been apprehended. Dr. Mondlane founded Frelimo in 1962. Under his leadership, and despite increasing military pressure from Portugal, a member of the so-called free world, Frelimo's control over the Mozambique countryside has continued to increase. His successor had previously served the revolution as vice president of Frelimo. United Nations Secretary General U Thant has returned to New York from an official visit to Ethiopia. While there, Thant told the UN's Economic Commission for Africa that the destruction of the last vestiges of colonialism and racism would speed up the continent's development. The Secretary General also called on African governments to increase cooperative efforts as a means of spurring the growth rates of the emerging nations of Africa. Black student protests at the nation's universities are precipitating a chasm between rigid administrative positions and those which are sympathetic to their demands. In the wake of white-supported boycotts, presidents at Duke University and Queens College are considering demands for greater autonomy in hiring black staffs, instituting black studies curricula, and increasing black student enrollment. San Francisco State College President Hayakawa and University of Wisconsin Chancellor Edwin Young are still holding student reforms in check. National Guard units remain on the alert for possible recurrence of recent outbreaks. The recent opening of the exhibit Harlem on My Mind at the Metropolitan Museum of Art created rage in both the black and white communities. Black artists charge that the photo exhibit is not representative of Harlem culture, and the Jewish community was particularly incensed over anti-Semitic passages in an introductory essay by 18-year-old college freshman Candice Van Ellison. It was later discovered that these anti-Semitic statements were paraphrased from the Nathan Glazer, Daniel Moynihan book, Beyond the Melting Pot. For the past 3 years, in his role as executive director of New York City's Human Rights Commission, William Booth has been in the middle of a stream of racial crises. From the rebellions on the city campuses to the battle for community control to the controversy over anti-Semitism, Mr. Booth has been on the front lines. Recently, he was named a judge to the Criminal Court of New York. This move was viewed by many in the black community as a concession to some Jewish leaders who had been calling for his ouster from the Rights Commission on the grounds that he was insensitive to black anti-Semitism.
Judge Booth, what are your reactions to charges that you've been used as a scapegoat in the recent black anti-Semitism issue?
Well, there's no question in my mind that there were some groups and some individuals who wanted my hide, so to speak, because they felt that my presence on the commission was inimical to their views. I think they were wrong, and I think they're going to find out soon that they were wrong. I think they were absolutely unaware of what was really going on at this commission, and that's why I prepared the 7-page chronicle of what we've done for the Jewish community. Not to single them out as a group because I want to show how good I am to them, but rather to answer the criticism that had been leveled at me. I think, too, it's interesting that those who opposed my being on the commission have now had second thoughts. Some of them have expressed to me the fact that they would not have acted as they did had they had time to think.
Well, now, to what extent is there anti-Semitism in the black community, in your opinion?
I have seen anti-Jewish feeling, and I don't call it anti-Semitism, and that's one of the things that some of the Jewish community don't like about me. They want me to call it anti-Semitism. But I've seen anti-Jewish feeling against people practiced in the black community to some small extent. But it certainly is not any more prevalent in Ocean Hill, Brownsville, or in the schools than it is anywhere else in the community, nor is it any more prevalent in New York City than it is generally throughout the nation. And certainly it isn't as great as is white anti-Semitism, or white anti-blackism, or Jewish anti-blackism. There's a great deal of all of that in this city, in this state, in this nation. Anti-Jewish feeling in the city of New York does exist, and we want to wipe it out. And I have given a considerable part of my time to wiping that out. But I don't believe it's the enormous problem that some people have made it. And I think that, too, there are those who have used it for their own purposes, like the United Federation of Teachers. I think that they certainly have used the question of anti-Jewish sentiment among the black community in order to wipe out decentralization.
Judge Booth, are we talking about black anti-Semitism, or are we talking of black hostility to white racism, regardless of what religious or ethnic group that it comes from?
Now, it amounts to a reaction by the black community to what's been going on with them for a long, long time. The black community has decided they're going to stand up on their own 2 feet, and they're going to yell and say what they believe, and they're not practicing this kind of hostility against Jews because of their religion. Not at all. That's what makes it not anti-Semitism, I'd say. Also, they're not doing it in any organized fashion, in spite of what Mr. Israelson has said. I think there's no evidence at all of any organized claque against the Jewish community among the black community.
Well, don't you think this present situation is something of a tragedy in the light of the fact that Jews and blacks make up the largest bloc supporting liberal and progressive legislation?
It is a tragedy, but then, too, I think I can see some light in the cloud. I think that while there has been a great deal of abrasiveness, a great deal of noise and heat, Still, there can be light in that heat, in that the Jewish community and the black community now are talking to each other, even if abrasively, and from that can come meaningful dialogue and a better understanding of each other. It may be that we've hidden ourselves from each other too much in the past, and maybe this storm that we've had, this tempest we've had, can develop into real meaningful dialogue between groups of people that ought to be allied together against those forces of evil that do exist in our community.
And now, crisis in medicine.
I'm her son, Edward.
This is the son, this is
Edward
the two
Thomas.
sisters. What's she suffering from, do you know?
She had 2 falls, and she hasn't been able to walk or stand or eat anything. And she's been running a high temperature for 3 weeks. This has been for 3 weeks.
Accidents and diseases are the great equalizers of mankind. No one is immune to them, and no one can buy his way out of them, even in affluent America. But for the black American, a serious accident or severe illness can bring on a personal crisis so staggering that he will hardly be able to cope with it. For in medical care, as in all other areas of life, the black man is the last to be considered and receives the least amount of attention. Often forced to rely on public facilities, he finds there that he must compete with hordes of others in his same bag, who must wait hours before they can be tended to by an overworked staff. He is twice as likely to be poor as the white man in this country and has reaped the bitter harvest of centuries of neglect, malnutrition, general ill health, and early death.
Here's your clinic card. You put that away. You know how important it is to keep up with that. I want you to sign your name for me.
We have a very critical problem in the black community. Namely, we don't have enough black doctors to go around. 1 black doctor for about every 8,000 black persons in this city. Now, we know that the statistics are pretty much the same anywhere you go in this nation, because we only have about 7,000 black doctors in the entire country. Matter of fact, our black doctors are dying faster than they're coming out of medical schools. Over 75% of the black doctors are over 50 years old, so you can figure that out. We have just a handful of young men and women who are in the medical professions now.
While a white baby born today has a life expectancy of 68 years, the black baby will more than likely die 7 years earlier. That is, if he survives infancy. In 1940, the infant mortality rate among non-whites was 70% greater than for whites. And 22 years later, in 1962, it was 90% greater.
The slogan for the Black Health Drive is Black Health is Black Wealth. But the fact is we cannot develop black wealth while we're in ill health. And we have these areas of the city where the infant mortality rate among blacks is worse than some of the underdeveloped nations of the world. In areas that within 2 or 3 blocks of major white hospitals, you have tuberculosis rates as high as 18 out of every 100. But there has never been a concerted health movement to raise the issue to the point where the American public has to make a valid decision about providing the proper medicine for sick people as well as the proper education for young people who have the aptitude to be doctors. So one of our concerns within the context of school will be to get students, black students who have the aptitude to become doctors. Those that have the aptitude to become soldiers, they have ROTC for them. And they pay them and induce them and encourage them to stay in school to become professional killers for 4 years. But there is no program to induce a young man with the medical aptitude to become a professional healer. And it's just so consistent with our nation being 70% inclined toward killing and 12% inclined toward healing to move toward this path of suicide.
The situation is getting worse instead of better. And how much of the blame is to be placed on the nation's medical schools? Are they aware of the need to develop a greater number of trained medical personnel, particularly to meet the needs of the black community? And are they doing anything to remedy this need? Or are they laboring under antiquated standards that make it difficult for all but the privileged to enter the medical field? Medical students are considered to be among the elite of college trainees because of the difficulty of their specialty, the long years of preparation that must precede acquisition of the coveted MD.
They were going to be a doctor.
Well, what are we going to do to encourage young black students in high school and junior high and elementary school to take the fortitude, to tell themselves, okay, we are going to do this. We're going to get together with somebody. Now, they've got to talk to people.
We have to make sure that the students in high school and in junior college and so on are aware that we few do, in fact, exist. I think there are a lot of students who aren't aware of it. We've been invisible in the past. We've somehow managed to camouflage ourselves in these white coats.
You as a dean of a school, are you serious about these things you're saying? Are you serious about these things that you are actively looking for black students, that you're actively going to do something to make adjustments in your curriculum if they're necessary? You're going to do these preparation things so that students who might even be marginal as far as their school grades but have a greater potential in that can get motivated to come in here and say, I'm ready to go?
Well, I think the answer is yes. And it's yes because we need to look at people in an individual way, perhaps more than we've looked at people in the past. As a matter of fact, you and I, we've met so many times, and I think one of our real joys is that this program ultimately is going to create betterment across the board. For example, you always point out that as black students come here, the dean always interviews them. We always make sure that they get through the school to see what a college of dentistry is like. And we really don't do this for all of our white students unless they request it. So I think we're learning more about recruitment and orientation of students. And I think as we move out and out and out, we're simply going to have a better program as the future unfolds itself.
Lou House is not only host of Black Journal, he is also the director of the Council for Biomedical Careers.
Our council's involved with students in their activities, in their beliefs, and their philosophies, their ideologies. We're involved with the teachers, the educators. We're involved with parents. And today we have a professional staff here of 6 people and volunteers who work with the youngsters, giving you all this information. We work with counselors and science teachers in high schools. We hold seminars for these young people and also the adults. We have parents groups that work also with the young people and with the council. We have people who work with fundraising. We cover a lot of areas. And I'd like to say that right now our council, I think, is unique because of the fact that we have approximately right now 325 youngsters in the program.
The only way we're going to get black doctors is by getting them interested now. It's too late to wait until they're seniors to tell them, look, think about becoming a doctor. Because, see, then they've probably got it in their mind that the best thing for them is being a truck driver when they're just wasting their talents because they don't know anything else to do.
Now, does this program here at the council help you in any way, and in which ways, does it help any of you be prepared for these medical or scientific careers? What specifically does the program do to prepare you or to supplement your public school education?
The program has done for me, but it has given me an opportunity to work in a laboratory and do things what I probably would have never done. It has given me an idea of what I would like to become. And as for the monthly meetings, well, we would like for more people to come and try to get more people involved in the meetings, because the way it is now, it seems that too many people don't seem to care. But what we need is more people to get involved. And so what I be telling a lot of people that I bring in, if they have any friends who would be interested, to come in.
And the community, I think, sometimes makes you think if you don't have an A average, you can't make it. I think the community kind of downs itself by limiting its children until you can only be a truck driver because your average is only a C and you can only work behind a desk if your average is an A and all this stuff.
I know I'm going to have a hard time, but I feel that I will make it into medical school, and eventually I will be a doctor of medicine, coming back into the black community, serving black people with the education that I have gotten, you know, which is no easy thing. It's hard for me now, and it's really a hell of a thing, you know, trying to stay in school against all these other students, you know, that've been really better prepared.
As a high school student, I had counseling like most other students did, and I was discouraged to some degree, and thought that being a pharmacist would be about as far as I'd be able to go. However, after being a successful student in pharmacy, I decided that I could be a physician if I really wanted to. There is a crisis, a terrible shortage of black physicians, and I think as the situation stands now, meaning admissions to medical schools and the way students are screened, I don't think that we'll be able to satisfy the needs of the black community. I think eventually we'll have to devise or build or construct new medical institutions which will have different medical entrance requirements, or at least will cater to the needs of the black community so that we will eventually have more black graduates. As it stands now, I don't really see that the universities, the established institutions, will accept enough black students to fulfill the needs and requirements of the black community.
Howard University's College of Dentistry in particular has felt the full brunt of this decreasing in the numbers of students. For example, in 1967, its freshman class had less than 50% black students. At the same time, reports from the other dental schools across the nation showed these facts. Of 48 dental schools, 20 had a few black students. All of these schools had one student, a few had 2 or 3, only one had as many as 4. The other 28 dental schools had absolutely no black students. Now, the Howard University College of Dentistry, sensing this critical need of dentists in America, organized a recruitment committee charged with the objective of developing a program to seek out and attract Negro students, black students, to dentistry.
It is unfortunate that some of the same problems you have at the undergraduate level continue through to the postgraduate level. And one of the largest of these problems is an economic problem. The fact that for postgraduate training, an individual might very well be forced by economic pressures to take a place where he could get training which is not quite as good as opposed to a place where he might get the better training. In my opinion, I think that this whole question of economic pressure should be removed, and that for both undergraduate and postgraduate education, there should be full direct federal support.
You know, I've asked this question to several people, and I'd like to ask it of you, too. Do you feel that our black doctors should be our brothers' keepers?
I think so. I'll give you one example, and this really comes from Martin Luther King, when he said, if I help him, what will happen to me? And the most important thing is if I don't help him, what will happen to him?
How many black doctors you know are trying to encourage others to follow them in serving the black community? How great are your own chances for survival should physical misfortune overtake you? Will you truly make it when crisis comes your way? The Black Anti-Defamation Association and 20th Century Fox have settled their differences, and cameras will roll soon on the life of the slave revolt leader, Nat Turner. In the face of threatened boycotts and demonstrations, the studio accepted the association's demand that the film not be based solely on William Styron's novel, The Confessions of Nat Turner. To do so, said the protesters, would lend validity to Styron's view of Nat Turner as a neurotic slave rather than a man fighting for his freedom. James Earl Jones, now starring on Broadway in The Great White Hope, will play the title role. A probe ordered by D.C.'s black mayor, Walter Washington, into the conditions in local jails has resulted in a call by President Nixon for police, judicial, and prison reforms in the nation's capital. The investigation came in the wake of a bloody battle at Lorton Reformatory, described by the New York Times as a guard riot. White guards in the predominantly black city's penal institutions have been repeatedly accused of misconduct, racism, and brutality by black community leaders. The editors of Look magazine have posed a provocative question. They ask, Is James Brown the most powerful black man in America? We all dig Brother Brown's singing, but we would suggest to the editors of Look that the most powerful black men in America are the young brothers and sisters on the street corners and the schools and colleges across the nation. They're the ones who have the power, and we would suggest that Look magazine direct their questions to them. Dating as far back as 3000 BC, black women of Africa have been the designers of beauty and femininity. They were the first to use cosmetics, makeup, eyeliner, wigs, and other beauty aids. Word of the existence of the beautiful, exotic women of Africa traveled to Europe through the stories told by merchants and explorers. Shortly thereafter, European women started to learn the art of African cosmetics to impress and entice their men. African women were brought to the courts of Europe to teach royalty the art of makeup. Today, black people are rediscovering the true essence of their beauty. Black women are now cherishing their exotic endowment, not only through their use of cosmetics and natural hairstyles, but also with the use of African prints and hair attire. As usual, artists are in the vanguard of this movement. A perfect example is actress model Joyce Walker, who is a personification of black womanhood. Rosalind Cash is currently amazing the critics with her performance in the Negro Ensemble Company's outstanding production of Ceremonies of Dark Old Men. One of the interesting things that has happened since the advent of African influence on Afro-American designers is the fact that African visitors now feel free to wear their traditional attire without the excuse of a banquet or special occasion.
We'll be back on Monday, March the 24th. We'll be with you then. In fact, we'll be going down home for an in-depth look at the South today, its economic, political, and cultural life. I'm Lou House with William Greaves. Wassalam. Until Monday now, March the 24th, Wangay Sagay.
The preceding program was made possible by a grant from Polaroid Corporation and the Coca-Cola Company.
This is NET, the Public Television Network.